You ever played your heart out to a bartender, a lonesome drunk, and a pinball machine that's getting more applause than you are? You ever showed up to a gig and had that feeling in the pit of your stomach like you just stepped into a horror movie? Just outside of Flensburg, the band pulled up to what could only be described as a compound. True story. Ever had one of those unplanned, embarrassing, often comical, misfortunate events happen to you while you're on stage or on tour that I can only describe as a Spinal Tap moment? Ever been top billed by a puppet show? No? Just me? Okay, well, welcome to the shed. Yes, hello, and welcome to Uncle Natchet's Woodshed, the channel I wished I had when I was first starting out. And today we are going to talk about the dark side of being a musician. And no, I am not talking about the tortured artist stuff, but the real, awkward, cringy, soul-crushing moments that nobody warns you about. This is what I call ego death. It's that feeling you get when you realize no one's listening. You drove 2 hours, set up your rig, maybe you wore your good shirt, and you're still background noise to a pinball machine, or a bachelorette party, or the bartender's playlist he forgot to turn off. But here's the thing, those moments, that's the real training. That's where you build your soul calluses. Let me tell you the beach bar story. One time we showed up to this venue. It was kind of a small bar in a small little town, and no one told us any of this stuff beforehand. Anyways, we walk in and the entire bar floor is covered in sand. Like full on like beach sand, 3 inches deep. No joke. In the bar, on the floor, on the stage, everywhere. They were having like a beach theme month or something, like all month. I used to work in a bar and I kept thinking about an unswept bar floor and how that was now just like all in the sand. So I'm trying to set up my pedal board on stage and trying to not bury it like a treasure chest. The drum kit is kind of planted like a battle flag. And instantly sand, as it always does, defying physics, has permeated through my boot and is now like in my socks. Every cable was sandy. Every step you took sunk into crunchy sand. And I found sand in my belongings for the rest of the tour. But we did it, and I'm glad because I wouldn't have had such a good story for the Woodshed. Here's another story. I call it The Empty Room. I booked a stretch of residencies at this local bar. Happy hour acoustic sets on Sundays. 3-hour set, but decent pay. Same place every Sunday. They were trying to up their Sundays at this bar. So they thought they'd bring in some live music. And quite a few of those shows I played to the same crowd. One bartender scrolling on her phone and what I think may have been a regular, or he might have been a ghost. That place was known for being haunted. He didn't say much. He was just staring into his beer the whole time. I didn't exist. Sometimes I would just stop mid-song or just make up ridiculous lyrics to see if they noticed. They didn't. But I kept playing because that's the job. And honestly, that was a huge turning point for me. You learn to play for the love of the game, not the size of the crowd. It's all about your attitude and your mindset. Yeah, it sucks, but it changed my way of thinking. I was getting paid to rehearse. I started playing new songs. I tried new vocal melodies, different guitar licks, whatever. I was strengthening my game on their dime. These shows, they stung, but I wouldn't trade them for the world. They made me a way better musician. And here's another one. It was at the same bar. It was a different night of the week, so there was a few more people in there. I'm on stage and I'm doing my thing, and off to the side a little bit, there's a pinball machine, but it is off the side, just a bit. You know, I'm facing the crowd here and this pinball machine's over here. However, if you're playing the pinball machine, it puts you right in front of me, between me and the crowd, if that makes sense. Anyways, I'm doing my thing. In the middle of my set, these 4 teenage boys walk up to the machine and just start playing it. Mid-set. That puts them directly in front of the stage, right in front of me. Not even a glance at me, just loudly cheering and playing, slamming flippers. I was furniture. I was pure background. I actually couldn't hold it in. I started laughing out loud and I said something like, okay. No one batted an eye. It's a strange place. It actually made me wonder what they were putting in those drinks. Zombies. That was the night that I truly understood what ego death meant. what it feels like. But you know what? That was also the night I got a lot better because I just kept playing. I kept going and I let it go. And I let go the need to be validated. And that is when you start leveling up. Okay, I could spend hours regaling you with tales, but I'll tell you one more. And this one is about how just sometimes everything is against you. Now, this show just straight up broke me emotionally and physically. This was in my old hometown of Austin, Texas, where I've played shows in triple-digit heat outside and inside. Wherever. I thought I was heat-proof. But this show, it was like 120 degrees on stage with the amps and whatnot. That's like convection oven status. And it's Austin, Texas, so it's just humidity. Heat waves rising off the stage. I was already sweating when I stepped out of the air-conditioned car. Now, we'd rehearsed for this one. This show mattered. It was a big deal. I had my gear all dialed in, the band was ready, everything. We step on stage and from the first note, disaster. Now, the heat, the humidity had wrecked my tuning. I'd play a chord and it sounded sharp and flat at the same time, but not... I'd retune between songs, between verses. I was constantly tuning. The sweat was pouring off me like sheets, dripping into the electronics, shorting out my signal. My cable was cutting in and out like a crappy radio station. The tuner stopped registering a signal. Then snap, a string goes. Okay, no problem, I got a backup guitar. Snap again. Okay, I can change a string quick, right? Wrong. My hands were slick. I couldn't see through the sweat as I'm trying to change the string. My tuner was displaying what looked like Cyrillic characters instead of the notes. I was fumbling like I was changing strings with oven mitts on, and the heat was unbearable. The band is vamping. I'm trying to keep this dead silence from swallowing us whole, and I'm thinking, okay, this is the worst of it. Nope. Now, something was wrong with the grounding on stage, because every time I would lean in to sing, the mic would just zap me. And not just like a little static zap, like shock the hell out of me. I'm talking jolts, like somebody was snapping my lip with a wet towel. Like make you grimace every time. Arcing from the mic to my lip. Wet hands on strings, lip to the mic equals face taser. And this was every tiny little brush with the mic. And then another string broke, the D string. Not even the high E, which I would have ignored, the D string. The backbone for every chord I needed. And by this point, the monitors were useless. I couldn't hear myself. My voice was starting to blow from over-singing to compensate. Towards the end of the set, I remember hitting this high note and I almost passed out, like that tunnel vision. My blood pressure dropping. Knees wobbly, blackout fuzz in my ears. But the show must go on, right? So we kept going. Trudging through a slow, sweaty, shocking, out of tune train wreck that would not end. That just slowly wrecked at 5 miles per hour and just a complete mess. It was the best. But look, every musician goes through this. These aren't just bad nights, it's part of the game. These are rites of passage. Remember though, when you want to crawl into that corner and just hide, every time your ego takes a bruising, something tougher grows back in its place. You soon learn how to smile through that awkward silence, how to sound good even when the monitors suck, how to not care that nobody clapped for your solo because you know it slayed. Ego death isn't the end of your story, it's just the beginning of your career. And if I could pass on any piece of advice on this, I would say embrace it. Change your mindset to laugh about it because it really can be funny. And you going through any of that is a gift because it makes you stronger, tougher, grittier, and most importantly, more at ease with yourself. And these traits are what's needed in this business. So embrace the suck and know that on the other side, you are becoming a bigger, grander, and greater version of yourself, which will make you a bigger, grander, and greater artist. So here's what I want for you. Drop your worst ego death story in the comments. Give me your best Spinal Tap moment. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go see this movie like yesterday. I want to hear the stories, the beach bars, the silent crowds, the hecklers, the technical failures, the weirdest gigs you've ever survived. This is a brotherhood, a sisterhood, a fellowship of the stage shamed, and you're in it now. So, welcome. You're not crazy for wanting to quit sometimes. You are not weak for feeling discouraged, but you are strong for staying in the game. And that ego of yours, it is gonna take some hits. Anytime you put yourself out there like we do, it's gonna take hits. But every hit makes you a better player, a better performer, and most importantly, a better human. We need all of those we can get. So hang in there, stay humble, and keep woodshedding.